Just let you know. All into that cushion. And then, like, I don't know what it does for me, but it just makes me feel
Need your signature on these.
I think Paul, we would.
Okay, I already done. Yep, that's the main thing.
Yep.
I run the team, but. Really, all those days they sit in my office, they're actually in the brain of people who come see them when they leave that.
Yeah.
Check that out.
I know we don't want to read it.
huge.
It's either that or it's
Huge green. Excel.
I didn't say that.
Then we sold the cells. That's the one. Yeah, because 207 sold it now after
All the way to every cell on here.
I guess he's a rep out
Yeah, 310,
Okay.
my 21, my 19. Yeah.
I'm just gonna see that.
You won't get one. Everybody ready? Call the January 13th Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Brand Hughes,
Here.
Mike Lawrence,
Here.
Tom Rogers,
Here.
Johnny Bryant,
Here.
J.R. Goldcraft,
Oh, here.
Aaron Cook,
Here.
Jack Myers,
Here.
Leslie Bowtall. Here.
Okay. Has everybody reviewed the minutes from the previous meeting?
I have.
We have any questions, corrections? Not? Entertain a motion?
So moved.
Have a first, do we have a second?
Second.
First and a second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Move on to the announcements. There's a walkthrough at the Event Center, Tuesday, January 21st at 4:30. And our next regular redevelopment meeting will be February the 10th at 5 o'clock. Financial report. As of January the 9th, 2014, there was million anywhere.
They have a year close out here, so we have a year close out here.
It doesn't carry over.
What about reverting?
That does, it's a non-reverse.
Yeah, but the million's in there too.
Yeah, you said there was a million put out for.
Right, so this isn't correct. It shows $584,897.35. but I believe it should be $1,584,897.35.
They just haven't transferred those over to the non-reverting accounts.
When I asked that question, that was the answer I got, they hadn't transferred them.
And I didn't know if the non-reverting would show all the time, because that's a separate.
Yes, it's separate, and I also asked that question too. because My understanding is it would be sitting in the non-reverting account.
Has everybody reviewed the claims?
I have one question to put on this. The Dawn Ray Enterprise, what's that for?
That's the housing drawings that we have made up for the infill, and currently, that's what's sitting over on that table for you all to take a look at after the meeting and take a copy. And the latest ones are that invoice you're looking at there is for the Margin Center, which is the 40-foot one.
Now, how many has he done? Because I know he's been to claims.
That's what I was wondering, because they're in there like every month, so I didn't know, because we had seen some renderings before.
I think we have two single-story versions and two-story versions for the infill, about the same on the center arch.
Is there any other questions? I have a couple. One is 1 West High again, there's no invoice for 1 West High.
Did we not have an invoice? Oh. Okay.
Sent an email out last week, Monday, for January statement, and haven't received anything back yet.
So I'm gonna ask that is pulled from the claim. And then there's one for AT&T, which is part of, I believe, Messers. And it's got a square drawn around it with a check mark of $28.76. Which the total bill is $14,000 something. I don't know, to me, that is not supporting documentation.
Okay.
Which is, I know it's piddly, but there's another one, Fifth Third charges, $64.10. And then there's a credit card receipt here, but a credit card slip is not supporting documentation.
Is that for Luke?
It doesn't tell what it's for.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask that those 3 claims are withdrawn. Anybody have anything else? Oh, okay. There is an invoice for 1 West High. Anybody need to see it?
Is it okay, Mike? What do you think?
Pretty simple. Okay, so, yep. That's okay. So then there'd just be 2. That was a 2876 for AT&T, which I think is Messer, and 6410 also on a credit card from Luke's.
Can I revise your motion on it?
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to pay all claims besides those 2.
Second.
Not supporting documentation. First and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. We'll move on to new business. Mike Therapata enters the board at 117 Heiner Heights.
podium?
That'd be fine, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, my name is Mike Sarapata. I am the current owner of the property located at 117 Heiner Heights. Approximately in September of 2009, the previous owner, a gentleman by the name of Michael Petro, took an ARA loan for the property of $10,510. That loan was for roof, windows, and doors. Approximately in August of 2012, Mr. Petro did become incarcerated as part of a pay for services. The property was transferred to me for my services. I'm an attorney in the area. I did complete services for Mr. Petro. There was a transfer of that property that was in Mr. Petro's name, as well as Mary Ann Turner to me for that. The case was resolved approximately 1 month ago. I did a title search for the property. Nothing was found previously. However, I went and did a second title search on the property. Found that there is a possibility of this ARA loan. Mr. Petro, prior to his incarceration, did make payments on the loan. If this committee is not familiar with the loan, that particular loan allows for a certain number of payments with a certain amount to be written off based upon the payments. The balance at the time is $7,524.80. However, the remaining amount that was owed based on payoff amount, if $2,149.80 was repaid on the loan, the remaining amount of the loan would be forgiven. Mr. Petro, upon incarceration, was no longer paying that loan. I was not aware of that loan until just recently when we went back and did a second title search. The second title search did not show up on the first one because the loan was not executed properly. Mary Ann Turner was not included on that particular execution of the previous mortgage loan. However, I come to the committee today. I have, since that time, there was a time where squatters moved into the property. I have had them evicted. I have, since that time, also spent $23,500 in rehabilitation of that property. That property was completed actually last Friday. I do have a person interested in purchasing the property. I come to the committee and asking consideration based on the fact that Mr. Petro's incarceration prevented him fulfilling the remaining amount of the loan, that I would be able to pay the $2,149.80. That would result in the remaining portion of the balance being removed from all the loan. That is my request today to council. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any.
What was the amount of that loan originally?
The original amount of the loan was $10,510.
And that was supposed to be for what? Roof?
It was for roof, windows, and doors.
Was that done?
Yes.
And then I believe, I wasn't on here, but with that loan, or I didn't have anything to do with that loan. You have to pay the full amount unless it stays current. You make all payments, right, correct.
Yeah, and I did put in your packets, I think, I don't know if you made two packets or not, but there was, I did get documentation from Deborah Lilly. Actually, it just copied on it. This was a documentation of the mortgage and and what she thought as far as the payments. There were 17 months of forgiven payments, like he said. He made 17 payments totaling $860 on it towards it. So taking that away, the amount of loan was $75,2480. I did have Mr. Sarapata come in front of this board. Originally, I thought there might have been some talk of them being interested, that this board might be interested in buying that, but that's not a request today. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, buying the property itself? No, I actually have already tentatively, this coming Wednesday, I do have an individual gentleman that wishes to purchase the property.
Okay. Well, so I had you come in front of redevelopment because it does, as far as the property. But he is scheduled to also come in front of council, city council, on this issue, the ARA, And there's also a concrete claim.
Who takes care of who approves the ARA grant? Just ARA? Who? Because I know that program, it never did come before council unless I'm mistaken.
No, this was done in 2009. September 24th is when this was dated, September 24th of 2009.
I mean, I can only say my feelings, and that's, the agreement wasn't met. And you got the roof, the windows, and the doors. So that's my feeling. I don't know what this board feels. Which I would assume that the final say on that would be the council.
Yes.
That's at home.
Yeah, there's also.
Through the ARA.
No, the whole thing is and I think Mr. Serpa is just trying to clear it up, obviously, because it's not only on the property, because the mortgage was not done with the co-owner of the property, which is the Mary Ann Turner, which was his mom, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So there is no lien. What he's trying to do is trying to clear the title in order, to sell it. So.
Now, was that done by ARA?
Yes.
So ARA did not do it properly?
Correct.
Does ARA still work for the city of Lawrenceburg? This time?
I seen something in the claim shop, I think in the last batch last month.
Yeah.
Can we get a copy of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it wasn't, not mine. Does anybody else from the board have anything for Mike?
I don't think there's much this board can do until it gets before council.
Are you on the agenda for the council meeting?
Yes, I believe I am.
16th too.
Yes.
But like I said, I thought there was some interest, or on your part, that this board might look at that property. That was the reason.
Oh, and who knows, maybe Wednesday doesn't go quite as planned, that might be an option.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much, appreciate
Cleared
it.
up, there's not a lien, but there's an issue with the title.
Well,
Unofficially, there is no issue. The title company, Eubank Title, indicated to me that this is out there, but they didn't know really what to do with it either, because, again, none of the liens were actually executed properly. But I wanted to come to the council and try to pay what I could or what I can to clear it up now, rather than hide it. Or find out what I have to pay.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, move on to old business. Leslie, first thing's Eric Snaybelt, realtor claim.
There was somebody that wanted to be here for this, Wendy Rainey, she's on her way here, I guess.
Okay.
Is there a way we-
We'll delay that.
Okay.
We'll move on to, we'll come back to that. 322 Short Street, appraisals are in.
yeah. That, if you remember, that was the unsafe building. The power of attorney for Lucy Couch is the owner. The power of attorney, Dorothy Sparks, sent a letter to us, and it was at our October meeting. At that time, he asked us to get appraisals. Those have come back, and the average of the two is $32,500. There was also an ARA loan on this one, correct? Or was it, I don't know, kind of loan, there was some $10,000 loan, I believe.
I think it's the ARA also.
Okay.
And it's still outstanding.
Yeah, and what they were looking for was just enough to, 10,000 no. Yeah, they were just looking to resolve that lien and to have some money for any administrative expenses that might happen, as far as, I don't believe that Ms. Couch is in very good shape as far as medically, health-wise, so they were hoping to get what they could to help with any kind of administrative costs.
What was the average of the two appraisals?
$32,500. One came in at 35, one came in at 30.
So there is a lien on that one.
Has them buildings been demoed yet?
No.
Not the Couch property, no.
And we got a new car, we took any action?
Yeah, we deemed it as an unsafe building. It had 90 days. She came and gave up the rights to the unsafe building, had no problems. She offered it to the board for the difference of 2 appraisals. And in that offering, the money for removal of that building comes out of this appraisal. What she does with the rest of it is her business. I believe there's a letter floating around here someplace, right?
Is she the lady that was at the meeting?
And then we had the unsafe building meeting after the meeting. Remember, it was
You
set.
just take care of demo, ARA, and then a little bit of money. She thought she had a little money left over to bury.
So, she's willing to pay the $10,000 out of that and for the removal of the home?
I think part of the ARA, I don't know if they were current or what, whether part of it was supposed to be
We'd
forgiven.
have to check with Deb Lilly on that, but I think the board has to make an offer of the average first, put it back in her court. I think it's in our court right now.
But in that offer, hopefully this board's not gonna make one other than if she pays the $10,000 along with the removal of the home.
Would that be about 15, right, you guys think?
The removal?
Yeah.
15 to 18.
Depends what's inside of it.
Should we get, ask for some quotes for demolition before we,
They'll have to do an environmental survey too.
That's the biggest thing, find out if there needs to be an asbestos abatement or not. I mean, if there's not, price goes way down. If there's an abatement, it can get kind of costly.
Does she have to do one on a personal basis?
If she takes the building down first, no. If we get it and do it.
definitely needs to take it down first then, before the, you know.
She doesn't have to go for quotes either, so I mean, it's in a private hands, it's a lot cheaper on.
Now, if this board chooses to, can the money go into an escrow until the house will be removed?
As long as we set it up to where she has access to certain points to the money. You know, if the house gets demoed, and she's eligible to draw down that demo price.
So they depend on
Mario, you and Mike.
whether or not they're willing to do it, you know, without. But I'll get documentation of the ARA loan. And see, you know, as far as payments and stuff like that. They hold definitely.
Like you and Mario, familiar with them homes over there, we've built various times over in that area. Have we had any problems with asbestos or?
Just about everyone.
Yeah,
I'm sure the age of it.
There's always something, whether it's a
Pipe wrap or.
full floor tile or window caulking.
Well, it could still have old shingles underneath and have asbestos, right?
Anything's possible. But again, if it's the private sector, you know, it's all waived.
They're not,
Tear it down.
You may make that one of the conditions if you're gonna consider this.
it needs to be done prior to closing.
The board would like me to, I mean, I know her grandson, I can talk to him about it, because she's in a nursing home in what, Hillsborough?
I think so.
He can speak to Dan.
Would you want to talk to them and then bring it back at the next meeting?
Yeah, the board wants to do it.
And I'll get the ARA between time and see what the payoff is on it.
That'll work.
Plus, you may check utilities also, make sure.
Connie, will you make sure that that's on your old business for next meeting, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else on that? We'll move on to S&T lease.
S&T is, that was just basically for your information. You wanted, you requested a copy of that lease from the last meeting.
I think I I had a question. What about Exhibit A? Can we get a copy of that?
Yeah, it's just a legal description.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know we got a copy of the letter that was sent to them. My question, by reading, for default by tenant, except for failure to timely pay rent if the leasee defaults in the performance of any of the provisions, conveyance, and conditions of the lease, and such default continues for 30 days after the leasee is notified in writing by the lessor to cure it, or if the leasee abandons or vacates the leased premises at any time during the lease term, then immediately or at any time thereafter with 7-day prior written notice to the leasee, the leaser may re-enter and take possession of the leased premises. How was this board, which I know it wasn't this board, but know that they abandoned it, that they left? Anybody answer that? Or was there a written notice prior?
I think Mr. Votel would draft a letter.
Well,
Attached.
that's what the 7 days, but that's only after it would be abandoned. But that's what I'm asking, how do you know it was abandoned? Because if it wasn't abandoned, then there had to be after default, there had to be a notified in writing.
That's what this is. If you read the second sentence of that letter, it does say, you have also put using the premises for a custom line apparel business, which is default under paragraph 9 of the said lease, and you would have 30 days to cure said default. Which didn't happen.
I mean, but what I'm asking, I mean, was there in writing to the board that they ceased operations?
I've noticed cease operation.
So there is a.
Yeah, I
Can we
don't,
get a copy of that?
yeah, I don't know. I do know that they were using the building as living quarters. And actually, I think the county was who went in and looked at it to see whether or not they were living there and using, they're using the facilities the inside facilities for sewer. They had some kind of camper or something in that.
There is another thing here, it said, that they are responsible for the property taxes, they stay current on those.
I don't know.
I was looking at the reasons why they would, initiate this lawsuit, I thought, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, they haven't initiated yet. You understand that was just a copy of, they haven't.
Yeah, it says it's been done.
We are working on their public records requests. I have pretty much all of it together. I just need to get it to them. Jackie was working on all the claims and everything, because they not only wanted information concerning this lease, but also with anything afterwards. There was a time where Jose had it, and then TNT. So
I don't think Jose ever took.
No, they were supposed to.
yeah, there was just, but they wanted information about anyone that was even interested in it. So we copied everything.
Now, you said the county inspected? Did they do a write-up by the city?
I don't know, maybe Mr. Fryman could enlighten us.
Was you
on
with
that.
the county then, Carl, or?
Yes,
Did you go over there?
yeah, it was me.
You remember?
A write-up, he was moving it that Saturday to Camp Shore, so problem was solved. As far as
Was there anything for the apparel business in there? Or?
I went into the main hall where the camper was at. Other than that, it was like, I didn't go into the building. We had a call line, turned it into living quarters.
Is that upstairs or?
Downstairs.
Downstairs?
Yeah. There was no need to write anything up. The gentleman said he was pulling it out to Camp Shore that weekend, and Monday morning it was gone, so I mean.
Well, you don't know if anything else was in there? Because, I mean, And maybe I'm wrong, I mean, I don't see anything in here that says you can or can't live there. As long as the apparel business is going on.
It
I'm
says
just-
you're allowed to sublet and stuff like that. I just didn't know if the same thing, like, how was it proved that they abandoned it and then were they current on their property taxes? Like that.
You know, we could ask some of the prior members or look back at, part of the minutes is what, you know, we have provided to them. Minutes from all the meetings that had anything to do with what we turned over, so,
And
I'm not aware, of, you know, who gave notice of them not using it for their business anymore.
It wasn't the default because they wasn't up and running the business as
The upstairs was demoed out when Mr. Feynman went to check the bottom bays. The upstairs had already been gutted. So the upstairs was not being used for apparel.
was he in the bottom?
They,
Huh? After this? In your package?
Do you know if anyone from the city went over and checked it? I mean, before we wrote this letter, I'm sure, you know, I'm not,
we did go.
For documentation of everything? I mean, I just
There
want
should
this
be
board
some-
to be prepared for,
Should be some minutes, meeting minutes also. And I think Mr. wrote on this. And
can you get us a copy of those, Leslie, just so we can prepare? Along, did you say, your dad Joe wrote them, or received a letter from them saying they abandoned?
no.
Or what, oh,
No, it would have just been, someone went and checked it out and brought it to the board.
okay. So you're gonna see if there's any documentation of that in meeting minutes?
Yeah, because I believe that was right around 2009.
Or August 7th,
Yeah.
Your Honor?
Chairman. Jane, can you come to the podium?
Just want to make sure, I'm Jane Pope, S&T Enterprises at the Lawrenceburg Old Firehouse. Is that what we're discussing? Yes, there was a business up and running in there. In the back part of the building, I frequent over there quite a bit, and they had a t-shirt shop in the back room.
Thank you. So you'll find research, any documentation. Anything else on the board?
Lastly, under old business, or old business, right? Not lastly, sorry, for me anyway. I did have Mr. Kramer sent you guys, or put you guys a copy in your folder as far as his, attorney fees to date. He also did send out an email to you all, and I emailed back and copied you all on it. He does need to hire an expert. Were you able to review that email and those attachments?
Yeah, it said it'd be $1,000 to $2,000.
Did you receive the email, Tom? Yeah. You received it? Yeah. Everybody says fine.
Tom Rogers 3@Comcast.net. Yeah, thanks.
He did call me today, and Mr. Kramer called me today, and wanted to make sure that I got the okay from you guys to go ahead and hire them. I mean, I can tell you it is normal as far as any type of, when you have any kind of lawsuit that experts are used, so I believe this guy is expert in older buildings, from what I can see from his resume. There you go.
Lawsuit, I mean, what's all about her. That's the breach contract, what the board claims they hired Eubank Kramer, or actually Kramer, that's right, to research the contract and move forward with litigation.
Yes.
Chairman? Our bills 5884.77, now we're going on another 1,000. When are we, when are we gonna, how high are we gonna go to obtain what?
Well, you're one of the members that's gonna have to make that decision.
Well, right now, we're getting up to $7,000. Redevelopment, when this started on that firehouse, it sat empty for 15 years. And all we wanted to do was get it on the tax base. And I assume it's on the tax base now. So what are we trying to do here with this Eubank and Kramer? And are we gonna spend $20,000 on this? Or are we gonna spend 15?
Honestly, I would say if it goes to court, gets that far, it's gonna be way more than 20,000.
No.
The building work.
Well, this bill for the attorney fees is 57, plus what the cost they advanced, which were, looks like the filing fees and plats, copies of invoices.
So what do we do if, we think we're right on something? We just tell the public, just keep after us and we'll back off and we'll give it to you. That way,
Well, what it's gonna boil down to is how good is that contract? That's what it's gonna boil down to. I think you asked what the value of the building was. I thought that I heard at one time somewhere like 75,000.
78,000, I think, was the value on that building.
There's an option in there, they breached it, went back, whatever, so oh yeah, for what, spent out of pocket and blah, 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 and started out, oh my God, a couple $100,000 later.
It just, you need to go back minus the grant money that, was given to them, so, basically, if they sold it, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but they sold it for any less than $218,000, you get it for free.
I believe so, I don't know the file at one time. I mean, one of the things that you guys might want to do is call an executive session and have Mr. Kramer call and pose these questions to him, I mean, he could.
Well, we're supposed to serve the people here too, and this building down there, Jose, is the one that came to us and got the $200,000 grant, $218,000. We okayed it, Mr. Jose became ill, but at the time, the 10-county grant committee had already okayed Jose for that $218,000. Mr. Denning came to us. That money was floating out there. It still belonged to Lawrenceburg, but it belonged to the 10-county grant committee. But he came, we sponsored him, and he went and got that $218,000. And he was approved, and here we are today. Now, I don't know about anything about the approved date, but is this commission, do we want to keep throwing money to lawyers and then go to court with this issue? And sure, we've got the money to do this, to go to court, but it's been I remember, like I said, to get it on the tax base, and it's on the tax base, and I don't know anything about that. So if he sells it, do we get money back?
She's still
Okay, but to me, it's just, it's throwing money. It's not a positive thing, I don't think. And like you said, no, we're not going to let people walk on us and stuff, but this has been going on 7 years now, and
And that's why, Tom, you have to make sure those agreements
I understand.
are great agreements where there's no question. There shouldn't even be a question. But this, I reviewed it. I'm not confident where they're going. But I'm one person, I'm nobody. That's my thoughts. And I said it one time before. I said this board's got two choices the way I feel. One's either go after it, which is what the board chose, or make offer, each party goes their way.
Now, one thing with this Mr. Fickert that he's asking to hire as far as the expert, well, my understanding is that he would inspect the property, review the documents, consult with contractors, and develop an opinion as to what the value of the improvements made to the property were. I mean, it might behoove you to go forward with that, at least then you know, an independent appraiser is telling you this is what they've done and this is how much it's worth.
You know, with overall receipts, everything.
I'm sorry.
We're putting another $1,000 into it.
True.
And then we're gonna pay another month to Eubank and Kramer. So, I'd like to make a motion here. I'd like to make a motion that we part ways with this.
What, are you, when you say part ways, are you saying
What you just said, you go your way,
You
we're gonna
wanna-
go our way.
you're making a motion that you want to put an offer on the table, each party goes their separate way?
Yes, sir.
So they don't, the 218,000 they got to open the business, didn't open it, that's okay?
No, it's not. But that's, why doesn't the Chin County, Commission go after that?
I think it's sponsored by Redevelopment Meeting.
They don't go after, and like you're saying, that money belonged to King County, actually it belonged to the citizens of Lawrenceburg. Every dollar, always belongs to the citizens.
I'll say back in '07, we weren't as educated to what, you know, what the contracts and all that. But mistakes were made on both sides, I think.
I think a judge looks at the intent too, don't he?
No, I mean, when you have a contract, the contract is what the judge would look at. You know, so according to that lease, is how a court's gonna have to look at it.
With all the correspondence and everything, and with their proposal and everything we got on tape and everything, that would play into.
I mean, the judge may allow something like that in, but most of the time when you have a contract, they're looking at it's called the four corner doctrine, which means you look at the contract, the agreement between the parties.
If I remember correctly, because it's been a while since I reviewed that agreement, but I think it says if they didn't fulfill their obligation, the city could purchase the building back along with.
Minus the grant money.
Right. But I don't think it says anything about if they breach your contract, they gotta pay it back and give the building back or anything. That's where the problem is. I mean, there's no spelling to.
What are we gonna do with the building if we get it back?
Well, definitely needs to be in the tax base. You said that. I agree with that 110%. I mean, I don't know.
I agree with Elmer.
I mean, it's a tough decision, that is.
The contracts, I sold the car with better understanding. Take it as it is. It's terrible.
But I mean, you know, also you're playing with the people's money. I mean, it's a bad situation. I don't know.
Well, Tom, do you have any objection to the gentleman that Aaron's wanting to look over the bills and everything and see if there's any?
I made a motion, and it was to part ways,
There's more to cut. Okay. We got a first and a second. And I'm gonna say, you know, the board could also decide to move to that process, which was $1,100 or $1,200.
Is that between 1,000 and 2,000?
To see what his opinion is, and then make your decision. I don't know, but it's I'm throwing everything out there. This board decides. There's a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And I'm just gonna tell you the truth, I'm gonna abstain, because it's my friend, you know, I mean, I'm friends with him, and I take my job serious here.
Can we have a roll call on that vote?
I think all of us has been friends with him. It's just business. You know, we're trying to look after the people's money.
Have a roll call, please.
I'll call for the roll call.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Tom Rogers,
Part ways.
Aaron Cook,
No.
J.R. Holdcraft,
Yes.
Tony Bryant,
No, that was less.
If you abstain and it dies, I mean, you can't have a tie.
Nope, unless anybody wants to change their vote. But if at a tie, we're gonna have to take a vote to move forward with, the professional to review everything and give his opinion after he reviews.
You have to,
I abstain.
you have to vote.
I abstain. I don't have to vote.
Yes.
No, sir.
All right.
Based on the recommendation from Eubank and Kramer, I'm moved to,
I will tell you this, if this gets done, I will listen to his opinion, and then I will vote.
based on recommendation from Eubank and Kramer to hire Rob Fickert of Devco Inc. To evaluate the value improvements made by T&T Food Brokerage, to hire Mr. Fickert.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? First and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Roll call? Which actually, hold on, I'm gonna vote yes. So it'll be 3-2.
That's correct.
It will, motion carries, to hire the professional to review it. And then, and just so you know, I'm dealing with the people's money. It's a very big decision to decide, you know, $200 and some thousand gone, or can it be saved?
Chairman,
And then I'll make that decision.
what's the $1,000? What's that guy gonna tell us?
He's supposed to review
He's at 160 an hour, so.
Review what?
the property, all the invoices for what was done and everything, and then give his opinion
Check your
on.
email, but I can.
And here it says, he will the estimated fees to include inspection of the property, review of documents, consultation with contractors, and development his opinion. But I guess what kind of improvements to make that.
We don't have
And-
any records.
Value.
Look at it.
I'm sorry.
So we don't have any records around where we can look at them ourselves. Doesn't do
We've
it.
got all the documents, what he's gonna review.
I mean, why we need to pay the guy to look at it?
I think the outside attorneys actually are looking to consult with this individual.
Right.
Really,
Third
I mean,
party.
I'm just, how I feel, I think a lot of questions, there's handwritten receipts, and there's some receipt numbers that are back-to-back handwritten receipts, and I think that just stirred up a lot of questions.
Someone from the outside, someone's,
This person's, you know,
right.
he doesn't know anybody, and give his professional opinion, and then, like I said, I will vote if I need to vote at that time, see his feelings, but, you know, it's the people's money. I don't want to have to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars of people's money. But on the other hand, professional opinion says you ain't gonna collect it, then guess what? I don't want to spend a bunch more of his money then.
That was fair, it's fair.
I think,
It's just
I
tough.
do think with his
That's it.
first motion at this point, you're gonna have the same motion again. I'm just thinking out loud here, but because you abstained, I do think the best thing to do would be to table that motion. You know what I mean? Because you can't have a vote on it. There's no vote as it stands right now.
Vote on Kramer.
No, your motion to part ways.
Make a new motion, have another meeting.
Yes, he
Everybody's
can.
gonna go.
He can, but I think as far as, I mean, what do you do with it in between time? That
Well,
motion doesn't
it
die
died.
because there's no, see what I'm saying? I mean, when you have 2-2 and there's a tie,
I thought it died. It's died.
I'd have to probably agree with Mr. Seymour that you would need to vote, so I don't know if he's okay with doing this afterwards.
Well, I mean, what if there's a member, you know, say I was athlete, it died.
Let me just double check that before we adjourn. Make sure we got the rest of the procedure there.
While she's researching that, on that motion, to move on with the professional to review everything, are you gonna put a maximum cap on that, Aaron?
No, just
Just
those
gonna leave it open as is? Okay. Oh, Tim, can you come to the podium, please?
please.
Come to the podium.
My name's Tim Denning. For lack of a better term, I'm the business manager for that project concerning the firehouse. And I just want to make it publicly known that going backwards and evaluating everything, every dime that was spent in that firehouse was evaluated every time there was a draw. Now, because Councilman Cook has a personal interest in that building, and he refuses to let my wife go forward with that building, he's going to use the public's money to go backwards. He was invited multiple times to come to that firehouse, review the project, the work was being done. Now, because he won't let this thing die, and he's using his position on this board and city council, he's using the taxpayers' money to go back and do the exact same thing that your building department did, your finance committee did, and your city council did. Every step of the way of that project. Now, if you think that's money well spent, that's your decision. Thank you.
I got two, can I ask him two questions?
Yes, sir.
What's my personal interest in that building?
Aaron Cook, I have documents, I have videos of you standing right there at that podium telling this commission that you were cheated, you, your wife, and your father-in-law, Turtle, wanted possession of that building, and I pulled some kind of backdoor crap, is what you accused me of, and you and your wife and your father-in-law were denied the opportunity to have that building, and your wife made a personal statement to my wife that me and Aaron will never give up until we got possession of that building. I think it's a criminal thing what you're doing, Mr. Cook.
You don't want to say...
A damn criminal.
You don't want to sit
And you're in law school.
You just want to sit here and call me an idiot? You don't want to...
There'll be no cussing.
Thank you all.
Can I address on record to him once he leaves, where I will respond to things? If he don't want to hear it, I'll still have to get it on record. For one, as far as trying to personal interest in the building, if he sold the building for $1 today, I wouldn't buy it. Yes, I did want to buy the building when he was buying it. I thought it was a good deal, $5,000 for an $80,000 building. I said it wasn't fair at the time, and I still believe that. I mean, I offered, I believe it was $90,000 for the building. He offered $5,000, and the board still decided to sell it to him. But as far as a current personal interest, there's no interest. I mean, I just want to see it open. And I can't remember what else he said, but using my influence on this board, we haven't even talked about that at city council, like he said, so that dies, and I just want to see it open. I don't care who opens it, and I have no interest in that building.
And one other thing on the record, there is a law in the state statute that because you're on the board, you couldn't be involved in purchasing that building.
Okay.
If it was brought up.
Yeah, even if
You can enter into a contract.
Yeah, I would,
Just
even if it wasn't
For the
law.
record, so everybody knows it is not possible.
Well, my thoughts are I'd just like to see this city fight back one time and win one of these damn suits. Something is wrong with our system, really bad.
Well, that's,
These contracts,
it's the contract.
terrible.
And that's what,
People just walking over it.
it's the
And who writes the
contract.
contracts?
If there was writing in that contract that said, when they breached the contract, this is what would happen, it would come back to the city, you know, and then there should be money coming back, but there's not one word of that. in those contracts. And that's why I'm scared to death. I don't think it will win in court, my own personal opinion. Maybe these people have got a lot different opinion than mine. I just know what I read in black and white.
Mike, it probably won't win in court, but I think we ought to have all these claims reviewed, and if there is some questions, maybe we can bring the price down.
And that's what they're supposed to do. I mean, maybe this, go through it. If this guy finds issues with certain things, maybe this board will go back and ask for certain money to be paid back. I don't know, and then get through it. I'm just trying to throw out every scenario.
No, everybody in here.
Can we ask, it wasn't our money, can we ask that the money be paid back to the 10 county?
Well, you can ask, but
I mean, we don't have, legally, can we say we want the 200,000 back? We sold the building. Whether right or wrong, we sold it.
and that's where the issue comes in. And there's nothing that addresses it because they got that money. They bought the building free and clear, got a free
And they went
and
after
clear
the
deed.
grant. Can we
They got
ask
the
for that
deed.
grant money back?
You can ask, but there's nothing in writing that says it would go back. Unless there's another document besides that, what I've read.
Oh, it says default and we reclaimed it.
Yeah, the city can buy it back. And there's the issue. It doesn't say, in my opinion, and I've said it with, just like the property over at Fourth and Chip, they got X amount of time to do the project, and if they don't, it comes back to the city at a maximum of what they paid for. And that's the way it should.
Tom, what's missing in these contracts is any legal fees, any additions or improvements to the property. While it's in your possession, you default, you lose, you know. They're always coming back with these bills saying, well, I put 200,000, I put 400,000 in it, you know. That's where the fight's coming in.
Anything else?
Well, Wendy Rainey's here now.
We'll move on to the Eric Schneebelt Realtor claim.
I did give you a handout before the meeting, which these are the ones that the staff looked at and acknowledged that Mr. Schneebelt did do work on these particular properties. The only one that I'm not sure, I mean, he has the Shumway building down at $590,000. I did go back and look at an appraisal that we got in 2010 of that building. Originally in 2003, Mr. Fortune Management bought it for $377,000. And then the appraisal that we got at the time that this lawsuit was settled with Titcher was $307,000. And that, like I said, is in 2010.
Now, is he claiming when the city got it from Fortune Management or when it went from the city to the county?
I get, well, see, the only transfer would have been to the city, the county. We
That
didn't.
was free, right?
Yeah.
They give it to him.
Yes, they did. So
Now-
that one right there is questionable, I think.
Okay, now you said who went, reviewed and said he worked on these?
I sat down with staff, which included Mr. Todd, Mr. Clark, Mr. Hughes, I mean, really wasn't here. And going back and looking at all of these, for instance, I know Mr. Rogers had questioned the Tate Street Trailer Court. The original appraisals were actually sent to Mr. Schneebelt. I had a cover letter today when I was looking at their original appraisals. So I do know, I don't know personally, but that would bolster the fact that I thought, that we did work on the Tate Street Trailer Court. Now the difference in price there, that $890 that he had, the $770 is what I looked at, and that is without the two Coke properties, which were $120,000.
Now, 'cause I was on this board and I never remember talking to Mr. Snaybell about the Tate Street trailer court.
That's what my question was. Say he did do something 2 or 3 years ago, just because the realtor has listed 2 or 3 years ago, if you sell it 2 or 3 years later, then they're not entitled to a commission, are they?
It's good for,
6 months or something?
I can't remember if
Really
it's
depends.
3 months or 6 months. If you looked at a property with a realtor and you buy it within, I can't remember if it's 6 months or 3 months. That's right.
Is that list available for all of us?
Yes, ma'am, we'll have to get you a copy.
Okay. I'd like to see it.
And I think, it's one thing to pay somebody for appraisal, but to pay them commission on a $700,000 building, I think that's a difference there too.
It all does boil down to, whether or not that's a contract. Now, if we say it's not a contract, then that's my opinion.
Well, I still go back to, it was a contract, it can only be good for 2010. And which property was in 2010?
I believe mine was February, wasn't it?
What is your address?
315, 317.
That's not on.
It's not on there.
Okay.
It was removed already.
Yeah, her sold date was 2/17/10, but it's not on the current list.
Because I think that was dated February 2010, I believe, which I don't even think it had an exact day of February. I think it said February 2010.
My only thing is if it does go to court and there is no contract, there was no intent, because that doesn't provide what his obligations were, doesn't provide any kind of specific term. We couldn't find in the minutes where Tony had authority to sign. The board would have had to give him authority to sign it.
No, nobody has copies of a newspaper article or ad ran accepting the position.
Well, so
I can
say-
tell you, I talked to Mr. Thierman, which has been told to me that he was one of the 2 that bid on it, and he said he'd sure like to see where he bid on it, because he knew nothing about it. That's what I've been told.
I spoke to Mr. Abbott, the former chairman. He said that he believes that every property that Mr. Snaybell was involved in was at the closing to get his money, because he was the chairman at that time when he signed the paperwork. He was there to get his commission.
Chairman, I remember talking to Mr. Snaybell after Mr. Carr was elected mayor. It was in pharmacy parking lot over in Newtown. And he told me, things sure are slow. Nothing's being, I said, well, there's a new mayor, maybe it'll pick up. But I wonder why Mr. Snaybell didn't tell me, who's a friend of mine, why don't you pay your past bill? You owe me so much money. But nothing was ever said to me about redevelopment owing him any money. And I think, and that was about the only time I talked to him outside of here about redevelopment. It was, things sure are slow. I said maybe things will pick up now if there's a new mayor, but he never mentioned. Is that reasonable? A realtor wouldn't mention to a redevelopment person that we owe him money, and nothing was said. That's why it just seems fun. I don't know about all these contracts and all that.
Well, the only thing I have from July 13th of 2009 is very vague. Mr. Stein informed the commission that Eric Snaybell would be the listing agent on remaining property. At that time, it was the list of 19 different properties, I believe, or maybe 18, because we didn't get one was tieback rate, from the Fortune Management.
Correct.
Another strange fact, like Mr. Rogers is saying here, in his first claim, there's 26 properties on it. Now, all of a sudden, well, if you give me this, I just got 7 properties on this page.
Well, and I don't know whether or not if you remember, Fairman did the same thing. You may not remember.
I don't know.
But they listed every single, the kitchen sink, and hoped, some wouldn't. And maybe he was advised to do that. I don't know.
I just know the first list was 26 properties. Now we're down to 7. Like Mike said, I've been on here for 2 of these, and he wasn't involved in them.
I mean, if he had original discussions back years ago, let me finish, please. Years ago on Tate Street, which didn't happen, till years later.
Because it did break down, right? I mean, it would be.
He can't expect to get revenue from that. You know, that was years ago, completely different board.
Right, legal counsel asked the staff to go through that 18 and give information that we knew that Mr. Snaybelt had been part of. Now, the time frame, I'm not an attorney, I don't know what the real estate law time-wise, but these are ones that Mike and myself do know that Mr. Snaybelt touched or was part of. But again, time frame, I don't know what the law allows and doesn't allow.
Now, what about, because I'd said in a previous meeting, I mean, if he wants to make these claims, there's no minutes, there's even no newspaper ad for where it was advertised. Because Mr. Abbott signed that contract, appears to be a signature. It looks to me like his only thing he can try to do is go back on Mr. Abbott's bond. Am I wrong? Or?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Because he had no authority to sign on behalf of the board without a vote. Or he had absolutely no right to sign on behalf of the city of Lawrenceburg, which is stated in there. That's right.
This is all the things that would come out in any type of lawsuit. The reason I brought this to you all tonight was basically to see if there's any room for compromise before any kind of suit filed, because I do think it's probably going that way. So, like I said, got with staff, had them, review. We've been looking at all the minutes. Like I said, the only minutes, even the handwritten notes from Mr. Style. But back then, they voted at the meeting. I believe it was Donnie that did the motion, Dennis Carr, as the redevelopment members, did the second. And you wouldn't have had to, it wasn't run the same way that we are running, now. There wouldn't have been a beef with anybody saying, Mr. Snable, throw a realtor, so.
But only, if I'm remembering right, in the minutes, was just on whatever properties was left of.
Right, on the list for the
fortune.
management.
Well, I know Ballard Trailer Court was one of them.
I really think the whole contract is in question at this point. I'm kind of with you, let it go back to Tony Abbott's ballot, or bond, because he started at $183,000, now we're down to $50,000. There's already properties on here that's in question, because I've heard from Fairman Realtor that he was not involved in Tate Street. I don't know if that's true, that's just hearsay in my salon. But, so once again, he's got a number here that he hasn't did work for. And if it's a year's contract, why are we debating things that happened in 2009, 11, 12, 13? And I like Mario on a personal level, but I know Mario and Mr. Snaybelt own property together, so for him to go over a list of what work he did, I think that's in question.
Excuse me, Mario and Mr. Snaybelt do not own property.
Well, maybe not on legal paper, but you guys are pretty close friends to be going over what he's did and not did.
Well, I'm going to say one thing on her behalf. Mr. Snaybelt was at Planning and Zoning and told us as a board that you and him
Look to purchase property together, correct.
Yes, Miss Piggy Ann's property.
That's why I was correcting Ms. Rainey on that. But again, legal counsel asked us to go over this list of 18, which we did. And Mike, you can address the ones that you have nature of, which is...
Yeah, and the main one that I had a lot of dealings with is when you guys keep bringing up the question is Tate Street Trailer Park. And just like it was mentioned, it was purchased during the second wave, but on the first wave, I actually spent quite a bit of time with Mr. Snaybelt on that one. Now, like I said, we got to a point where, in fact, verbally, I think we had a done deal, and then the next day got called back that no, it was over.
And what year was that, Mike?
Demands. I had to look at the appraisals to see what dates on the appraisals.
I mean, if you were guessing.
Probably 10.
Okay. So if it was 2010, you list your house with a realtor.
Well, I'm not saying, I'm just saying
I'm
that
just using an example.
he did work on, I don't know the legality of it.
But what I'm saying, if you list your house with a realtor for sale in 2010, and he works his tail off for 6 months trying to sell that house, work with one individual, that individual comes back 3 years later and purchases it. You sold it to him on your own. You think you owe that guy? That realtor?
There again, that's legal counsel answer right
I
there.
think, I was just saying, your opinion, if you were selling your house.
I think in
And
the
I'm not-
real world of real estate, a realtor would show a place and their contract was up and then somebody come, another realtor, or they went to another realtor, somebody they showed it to and they sold it within like 6 months or something like that, they'd be entitled to a small portion.
Right, well,
But my first question is,
6 months, I think.
how legal is this contract? If it wasn't listed in our newspaper, I mean, other realtors across the street, Andy Lowmiller, at the time, Snaybelt's business was in Greendale. So you passed up Fairman Realty, Lowmiller Realty, all these to go to Greendale to get him?
I don't think if it was advertised, it is legal in buying.
So to me, I think before you pay him a dime on it, we should go to find out if the contract's even legal.
Well, as far as the contract, if, let's say, like I told him, if it's not legal, going from that premise, then, it's gonna be up to, it'd be up to a judge or a fact finder, a jury to figure out whether or not he did the work on it, should he be paid for it? I mean, that's what's,
If this moves forward to court, can we countersue for all costs inquired by the city?
I mean,
That's a good idea, actually, Mike.
I think that, I definitely think we should countersue.
Yeah.
And if it is not withheld as a legal binding contract, countersue to ask for all costs or
that's possible.
required to pay.
Okay. You always have-
For the record, Trump, we're not attorneys. We were asked to do something we did.
Yeah, I was just looking, I was wondering the dates. Because I think before there was a list of dates, and I think there was like 3, maybe in 2010, I can't remember which one, though. I'm just aware, the Tate Street trailer court, because we had our episode on that.
And for public record, if the city would get the firehouse back, I'd be interested in purchasing it to put a beauty school in there. So I would like to be notified if you get it back.
Is that gonna be another gossip central?
Uh-huh.
Boy, I'd like to hear what's talking about.
If I had a penny for all the names in here, I wouldn't be going to cut hair right now. I promise.
Ms. Rainey, do you have a copy of the contract?
No,
If not, I can get you one.
I'd like one.
All right, I'll get you,
I
I'll drop.
read it on someone's computer, but I didn't get to see that.
Okay, yeah, I'll drop you off one this week then.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Anything else from the board?
Well, at this point, I'm just asking the board, I guess some kind of direction. Like you can have Mr. Stamo come back, to the meeting. I didn't call him and tell him to be here tonight because I kind of wanted to see, show you what we found and where you guys wanted to go with it. So I wanted to see if I could get some kind of, something from the board.
I would like to ask this board to consider making the motion to advise legal counsel to send his attorney a letter stating if they want to pursue it. We don't feel it's a legal binding contract and we are going to countersue for all costs.
So move.
Second.
First and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We will move on to Grant, redevelopment property tracking sheet.
Okay, in front of you is the property tracking. This is past 2 years. It's pretty much up to date. Follow up on a question that Mike asked on the second. Mike, we have 14 properties that are in some type of planned development. 8 of them center around Center and Arch. There's 2 at Tate. to the park, and you got St. Clair, which is infill, and then the Dunning property. So to move through this, pretty much, when you're looking at the tracking sheet, the most recent are down at the bottom of the page, and just gives you an idea of what we have out there, and the what's planned.
How far did you say this goes back, Grant?
This goes back to properties that sold after January 1st, 2012.
The 1 through 9, does that mean sold, it says sell?
Yeah.
And
And the first one was, I went to that closing on what they refer to as the old barber shop. Deeds. That was the first one that I was involved in.
And you said
Of the sold ones, I mean, we've got 10 of them sold, and, one of the things we don't get to realize here is that funds does not come back to redevelopment. It's captured in the clerk treasurer's office. That was about $449,000 of sold property. So.
That changed. That's changed now from this point on.
This point on, it changed, but.
As a new law, wasn't it? That passed, wasn't there a law passed about that? I
It
thought
was just once we created the
non-reverter, that's right, it had to be
Now
non-reverter.
when you guys sell property,
That was the only way it
you'll
could.
go back into the non-reverting.
So we'll try to claim whatever was past year, but, anyway, you got 10 properties that pretty much have moved off the list. And then, we've got a total of 8 properties that we took no action on, meaning called for the appraisal, got the appraisal, but did not move forward with an acquisition.
I would like to say one thing. Maybe they wound up signing documents, but for the most part, that first 9, first 8, and 7, those was pretty much done before 12.
But they closed in 12.
But they was voted,
Yeah.
approved, sold,
Right.
and
If you'll notice there, some of the advertising of that was unknown, and I did confirm on the row houses that the LRC had advertised.
Mike, we advertised all that when we were in here,
all of them?
except for 170.
And the double unit, we were in the mix on that. We probably advertised for the request for proposals. That's what we ended up.
170 was pretty much done. That was the Casey Seymour, but the rest of them, I believe we advertised.
And industrial, that was sold in 11. On industrial drive.
So anyway, there's a list, and for your information and reference. With that said, this will be a good segue right into the housing infill. Okay.
And you said there's 14 started projects?
Yes.
Is it-
10 sold, 14 that are in some type of planned mode. You got 8 of them that no action was taken. And then, we've got in inventory, we got Industrial Drive, which we need to decide about. We're gonna move forward with advertising that. 229 Main Street, that's pending. Because we don't know if we're doing an actual sale, if we're doing a land swap. That would be up there on Main Street, next to UCB. And then we got the infamous 353 Short Street that we, and one of the suggestions, probably by the next meeting, is to look maybe at a duplex on that one. But, and then I've got some pending, which is about 4 of them, that's more towards the bottom of the page, waiting for replies, answers, or whether we make an offer or not. Okay, housing infill discussions. Well, that's right, I got to back up, Mario brought it to my attention.
Hold on, before we move back to the sheet, I got a
That's
question.
what I was getting ready to go right back
Oh.
up to.
because you mentioned the industrial property up there, I call it old landfill or whatever, old dump or whatever. Maxwell was in here one,
Right.
about, has anybody heard anything about?
They
about
looked
that?
at the soils reports and didn't think.
So it's out?
It's out.
Okay. I was just curious.
But Maxwell does want to come back and talk to the board about their interest in the fairgrounds property.
Over that, what's the name of their
Right.
corporation?
Big head.
Yeah, McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I'm obviously disappointed in the ground survey or whatever. Wasn't that just for a slab out there on that?
It'd be a light load.
Yeah, light load.
It was just too.
Originally, we had the gentleman with the pole barn that was interested before, and then Maxwell was interested, or Maxwell's clients were interested. And then I think the soils report just said it could not take a heavy load. One note on item number 35, 240 and 246 Water Street, that abatement survey was done last week, so we should be hearing about that, and getting that done, and be going out to bid in February for the demo, right?
And
Abatement.
No, on that soil test back to industrial, are they, Maxwell's builder, are they saying that there shouldn't be a building built on it, period, or?
Oh, I don't think they said that. I think they had something larger planned for them.
Okay, so like a pole barn type or regular steel building would be fine, I guess.
Chairman?
My name is Mark Shepard, I am with Maxwell. Just to be clear, I think what the soils report indicated was that the project that we had planned there could not be supported without piers or some kind of significant cost, and the project just couldn't bear that cost.
Well, I think Robert's Auto Body, I think they had to put piers in when they built that, I believe.
Probably.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Ready to move on?
If you are.
How about?
Okay. Discussion regarding, and really this is going to be for all three of the items we're going to discuss tonight, but a little bit about the procedure. The housing infill, that property that's on St. Clair Street, that double lot, we need to advertise that double lot, split it into two lots and advertise it for what we have in it.
So it hasn't been advertised?
It hadn't been advertised yet. Well, it is at the paper currently to be advertised, all right? We have to do that, and we have to wait 30 days, and then we can put out the request for proposal for more detail, and then that's where the decision needs to be made by this board regarding how we'll dispose of property and any other considerations we want to give for a housing development.
Now, after, when we advertise that, we have specifications on what has to be put on there?
Yes, we do.
Now, after the initial advertisement, nobody bids on it. And then it's, as I've heard, the deal at arm's length, we can re-advertise it and we can put as many specifics or whatever in there as we want.
Correct. Correct.
What's it gonna be advertised now? Because I don't remember ever voting on anything like that at the paper now.
Well, and what's at the paper can be adjusted, but when, in October, Mike asked permission to go ahead with advertising. And that's where, at the time, we were thinking we were advertising for going out with the second phase of it, which was the plans and all that stuff. So,
It was in October.
let's see, we planning and zoning.
I don't ever remember.
It's either September or October. It said to do, we started working on.
October 14th, Mike Clark requested to advertise for infill St. Clair and Euthemia approved. So, what's at the paper, we can adjust we can get in touch with them in the morning and stop it from going in. But, and it also lists, Mr. Chairman, the requirements. It's got to be a residential unit. And it's got to be occupied.
Is that the property we discussed, maybe a handicap? Was that?
That would be Euthemia, would be the lot that's more situated for that.
But that's not one of these, because I thought you said one of them was
Two currently, what we're advertising is the 2 lots on St. Clair. So, we advertise it, there's nobody interested, and we got 30 days. Well, during that 30 days, we'll finish the packet, be ready to put it out, and then the housing packet goes out, and we, for RFP. Actually, the way it's written, you don't have to re-advertise it. Anybody that's interested at that time, you can do arm's length, but this board has decided to post another notice for the request for proposals.
Well, I wish this board would decide to put a big advertisement in the paper for RFP, attention builders, great big, and invite them right here to make presentations to what they want to submit and talk to us, show us, and let this board decide what they think is the best for that property. I think that's the way we ought to do it on all these houses.
Well, once we advertise and somebody comes in and if somebody answers this advertisement, then they're gonna have to come here and do that and convince the board that they're following and go put
We
something.
already do have big bold letters
Yeah,
from
we
what
do
we,
it in large letters.
we've already increased it. Donnie made that a couple of years ago, bigger letters, so we could
It's
read
still
it.
not-
Well, I mean, you gonna take out a whole page? I think they have to do some due diligence themselves. You know, they're in the business, they should know, they should be down here knocking on the door saying, you guys building anything?
But, okay, we're sitting up here as a board, all right? To me, if, say you get a half dozen builders come and present something, maybe what you sit here and think, you might see something that's presented, this board might think it's a lot better, would fit a lot better, you know, and then the public can hear it, see it.
Maybe send a notice to the Dearborn County Home Builders Association.
That would probably be a good thing. I mean, just try to get the word out, try to get, you know, people here to make proposals. And then I have one thing on the housing. If Leslie could research, I was reading the redevelopment on the statute. I see all kinds of talk about what you can do for buildings, you know, that's, you know, in bad condition, blah, blah, blah. But really nothing about residential, other than if you get to the urban plan. You know,
Well,
if I
one of
read
the
that.
things, one of the things I just looked at today, I mean, part of like these 2 lots we're talking about right now, it has to do with median income or less. They have to be a median income or less, but we can assist them. I mean, is that what you're talking about? That's
Well, I
residential.
seen that, and
That's
then-
for residential.
Because, I can't remember exactly what it says, but for instance, like over at Center and Arch, you know, that you have to submit something in writing, blah, 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 which is all internal here, but it's supposed to all be submitted, and it has to go through its steps before you can spend, this is the way I take it, on residential versus, there's separate things, all kinds of stuff written about buildings, but not residential.
I think a lot of it is geared towards commercial, but,
I just don't want to do anything, wrong. not the
right,
way.
well, the one thing as far as, like I said, the only thing I looked at just recently was, whether or not we could provide assistance, to someone that wanted to put a residential unit, on this.
Yeah, the only thing I seen was about the income.
Right, the median income,
Yeah,
which
that
by
was
the way
only-
is $48,300.
Now, that's household, right?
Yeah.
So,
But now, so the question, exactly, tell me exactly what you want me to look at. Just what else is out there
about the.
for residential?
Right.
Or
And I
does-
know there's a big thing about urban development plans and stuff. And that's the only thing that I really read is residential and requirements, what you gotta do.
So residential versus commercial?
Right.
Okay.
And there's all kinds of stuff about commercial.
We have to follow them guidelines, or can't we put it up the way we did before? We got, I think, quality people in there, it never,
What guideline?
if they could get a loan, it's up to them individually to get a loan, so we give them
We gotta make sure we're following the law. What it says. Just like Leslie said, and that's what I seen. I don't know the way it looks to me, the only people you can actually help on the residential homes, if their income, their household income is below a certain amount, which he says $48,000. So,
At or below.
Is that state statute or ordinance?
state
That's the state
statute.
statute.
Because I spent a long time last night reading,
That statute is hard to read.
yeah, it's above and beyond me. I'm a tow truck driver and a fabricator.
I wish they could raise that 48,000.
But that's
That was from the census, that was the 2012 census.
That's what you go by.
Data.
It says the latest census.
Thank you.
So I was just putting that out there because that all needs to be researched really before, but I think it needs to be researched ASAP and, because I'd love to see something get going as long as we can do it and just do what we're allowed to do.
And whether, and what project in particular are you talking about? Your backyard center, right?
Right, and, well, really, I just want to make sure for all residential. So, because really, everything's spelled out for commercial, buildings in downtown.
so people that's making more than that still have the opportunity to.
Well, they could buy the homes, but you couldn't help. Like that $10,000 deal, way I would take it, you couldn't do that unless they made less than $10,000, the household.
Yeah, I double check. I just pulled up the census data today, but looking at whether it's household or if that's a single or, I thought that's
I think it says that.
median, just says median, it just says median income, which is, that's what it says in the statute.
I'm just doing the best I can with reading it and trying to understand it.
Like it's, we took a blighted area and turned it, ended up into a nice area.
And that's where the urban development plan, there's certain steps you gotta follow, and I just wanna make sure we follow it as required.
Maybe one more question about the advertisement. It's just going to be for the lots only. It doesn't say any specifications about housing, just advertising the lots.
It just, term and condition is real estate is being offered subject to the following terms and conditions. Offering price not less than $20,000. Remember, you split that.
Yeah.
In accordance with the two independent appraisals of the subject real estate. The use, the buyer must use the property for construction of a single-family residential unit. The real estate may be used only in accordance with the applicable zoning codes and Indiana statute. Conditions. Construction must commence within 90 days of the closing and must be completed and receive certificate of occupancy within 1 year of the closing. End user may qualify for assistance from the commission. May.
Is that the big letters? I'm serious.
I did.
Is that the big letters?
You can
Yes.
strike that.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the advertisement will be in the double-sized print.
And these,
Not the
specifications,
legal notice print,
Yeah.
the small print.
the specifications about, commencing after 90 days, and who goes back and checks on that stuff? I know he sold some stuff, has to be done within a year, and does anybody ever go back and check on that kind of stuff? My question is about some of these row houses. I don't know, I don't see many people moving in them yet. I know Casey, she's been hers for a while. I don't know about the rest of them.
Casey?
Joe's in them.
Joe was in it.
Okay.
Joe was in it, and then,
I think John's close to moving in there.
He's a couple months, he's working with the restaurant.
So it's a couple months.
Joe's in it though?
Okay. It's a couple months.
last, I've seen him come in and out there early.
Had to redo the kitchen.
Anyway,
Tom, don't you like the big letter?
I like the big letters. My eyes are getting better. As you get older, your eyes get better. You don't need to have them.
But maybe these contracts we've been discussing earlier are been a lot bigger letters.
so is everybody on board about taking the first step in advertising?
That's a move.
Okay.
Motion on the floor?
Second.
First and second. Any more discussion, Gary?
Yes, two things. Also, for housing on Arch and Center, to do the same thing, because we got to take that step.
I'd rather keep it separate,
Okay,
that's all right.
okay.
So we have a first and second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay.
All right, housing, Arch and Center, okay to advertise, first round?
Basically the same.
I think we do that as a entire development, though, not
Yeah, it's got to be a whole
the
development.
entire sub.
Well, I think really I think Leslie needs to research that urban development plan for that.
If you put it for sale, you're allowed to sell it for
Individual.
market value.
But you said as a whole, I don't know as if you can. But,
Okay.
I mean, if you
We'll
divide it
research
into
that.
individual
We'll
lots,
research that.
you can go ahead and list as individual lots, but I'm not for sure about because the whole,
Yeah, I think you gotta be careful. If you divide that up, I think you're defeating part of the purpose of us acquiring one big chunk to go in and be able to put standards and
but Mark,
specifications.
now you're tying the hands if people are willing to pay the average of 2 appraisals for each one of them lots. That's not really for this board to decide. That's the law. If they're willing to pay the average of 2 appraisals.
But we don't know that it's a law that you have to break each lot up
No,
separately.
I don't, but if you want to move forward today.
No, I don't care if we move forward today, but I just want you guys to recognize that the value of that, when we get everything done, is having an entire development instead of trying to.
But I mean, if it's advertised as individual lots for residential homes, it's still the same difference. It might not be exactly what you want to see built there, but if they go through the proper channels, they're paying the average of 2 appraisals, which this board has discussed, it wind up probably being sold for $1. And if they pay the average of 2 appraisals for each one of them lots, so be it. I mean, I'm still gonna say, I don't believe that it's anybody's concern, the right to say, no, you can't,
Well,
if they meet the requirements.
I think this board's already said that, though. Not me. This board said they you wanna upgrade, try to put some, a little bit better upper scale housing in. That's not coming from me. This is what I'm hearing.
But are you going to get appraisal on that for one piece of property? Or is it gonna be appraised for each individual lot?
I think if you advertise it as a whole, you have to have the entire appraisal. If you're gonna break it apart,
And that's
since they had houses, we'd actually probably have to go appraise each lot independently again, which we're not gonna have that.
and then it would have to be advertised individual lots. And if somebody wants to buy them,
Mike, I thought we discussed it was gonna be a senior housing down there, but not federally subsidized.
where'd you get that?
We never
talked about that.
We're still on Center and Arch. You're on Tate Street.
Oh, okay. How'd I get there? I thought we were talking about the big lots.
Well, we do have bigger lots on Center and Arch, which we went to the 40-foot lots. So, all right, well,
I think consensus is we'll hold until the research is done there.
We had that for next meeting.
Now, actually, ESP right here, next subject was Tate Street.
Oh, that's what, he was reading that one.
All right, on Tate Street, there is a section in the redevelopment statute for age-restricted housing. Okay, I've given you all a copy of that, I think in October or November. So you got two options to go down there. You can go the tax credit route or the market rate route. Now, the challenges, if you go the tax credit, I've showed you the schedule on that, where you gotta get approved, and you gotta have your submittal in by the 1st of November, and then they come out with the awards at the end of February, what projects got accepted. The issue with those tax credits is that from the perspective of the property being on the tax rolls, the tax rate is figured on the amount that property receives in rents, not on the actual cost of the initial project or the assessed value. So if you go market rate wise, and then it would be assessed on what the actual structure is. Well, your challenges with the structure is, right now it takes about $900 a month average to justify moving ahead with a project for a developer to be interested in it, from the discussions I've had with developers. Currently, we're around 600 average in the area. So we've got that delta there. That property needs to, we need to define it and put it out and see if there's anybody interested in putting senior housing up there. And if there's not, then we can sit down and start massaging it and see what we can get interest-wise.
Did this board vote to put senior housing? I don't remember.
I believe we talked about it, and I don't think we ever voted on it.
I was just curious why, I think I said this before, like building something like 3 Mile Ridge, how that's laid out, where it looks like homes, two connected condos, whatever you want to call it, townhouses, I don't know what you call it, but where it could be, whether it's seniors, younger people, maybe a couple handicap units versus senior housing. I mean,
I thought it was.
how many senior?
I thought when that, I think it was this board that voted to go after the property and purchase it. I thought it was to purchase it for a proposed senior housing development.
I think we talked about it, so I don't think it was part of the motion or anything.
I think that was the discussion. It was big enough for probably a 60 unit, some of the research that was done on it, and its location dictated that, since it was at the adult center, community center, the pool. It would, for age restriction, it would be convenient. So, but whether there was a vote, I don't recall.
I don't think there was an official vote, because I think at the time the rush was trying to help a developer meet the tax credit deadline. So we got pushed up against the wall.
Now what about, I'm completely wrong again, but there was something that changed in the law about age restriction in housing? Like last year or something?
The section was introduced last year to the Redevelopment Commission statute.
What?
And it said that the redevelopments were able to do a residential, but had to be age restricted. I passed it out, I believe October's meeting, the copy of the section. I can get you another one.
I'm just trying to remember.
And I made some phone calls on it, and again, we get caught between the development side, true market rate side, and the tax credit side. So, this is something not to solve tonight, but we need to figure out what we want to do with it, and we need to advertise it to get through the first step,
And then the other property that we really haven't discussed what to do with it, and that's the Dunning property. Some people have asked if we're going to go with residential units, similar to what Park Lunchbox put up. Down on the block there, those apartments slash condos or condos slash apartments.
That one head this way, right? The alley?
William Street.
Well, I know it's right here, but it's not that deep, is it? It's not that long, is it?
Yeah.
Man, it sure didn't seem like when that house was there. I know the presentation after.
That's why they have that garage and stuff too.
Right. And then there was discussions about some type of convenience store slash drugstore slash deli. So we need to decide on that property too. What
What
works.
about, if the board decides to put out to just accept proposals of what people propose?
Okay, we still have to get through the first step and put it out there, but I need you all to think about it, and we need to put it out for something you all can go.
If you put it out there like that, and right now it is levy business, just so you're all aware.
Does it have to be reappraised since it's empty property now?
Yeah. We'd still have to do the original.
What happens when,
Council's on?
No,
No,
without
we have to have
council,
it, right.
yeah.
what happens when you do something like that, like you're talking about the Lunchbox project? He's supposed to make that, sell that. Now they're all being rented. Is there any repercussions you can put in a contract or something like that?
Yeah, we could. I mean, we just gotta make sure the contract's clear and, you know, we need to get everybody involved and get a contract that's strong.
There, you gotta look at the use and the locations on what type of restrictions, because that was a big part of the discussion with Lunchbox when he did that development. And just to summarize, you know, condos or units for sale right there on the railroad, it's kind of a rough nut to crack, but nice units for rentals where you're not gonna have somebody move in there and more likely to live there for 20 years, but as a starter home, or if they work for the casino to move in, they'll pay the market rate for rent. And that, you know, I'm not telling you which direction to go, but that was a discussion, and I think that was some of the issues, because he did put the properties up for sale, and
I mean, I know, he charges, you know, a higher amount, but I always see people in and out of there, you know, on a consistent basis.
So does this board need to vote to have appraisal done on that Dunning property again?
Yes.
That has to be done before to move forward.
So move.
Second. First and second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
That's 19 East Williams, right?
Anything else, Greg?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Anything else from the board? Anything else from you guys?
Just do one more thing. So on the Arch and Center, do we, we're gonna wait on that, but then do we need to have that reappraised, the whole lot as one then? Do we need that motion?
Which one?
The lot, at the next meeting, have the whole area appraised, all lots together as one?
We can.
Okay.
Well, is that what we're gonna do?
We'll have to wait, I guess, but I was just wondering.
okay.
Fine.
Just a quick question, Grant alluded to it earlier, the 353 Short Street property, which is on Short, right behind Kirby's Theater. We went through the full process, we didn't get any takers. I have heard comments that lot, you know, you have to build a full basement. It doesn't pencil out for a single family, but for a two-family, where they could use the basement as the garage for the inside parking. Is that something, you know, it wouldn't be a single family owner occupied, but that lot's kind of unique because it just drops straight off. Is that something that this board would consider a use for that one particular lot to put it out, see if we can't get any takers on it for that use.
Well, what about just,
It's been empty since '09, right?
again,
Been a while.
advertising for proposals and see what, I mean, if that's what people propose?
Just
I mean, maybe somebody,
no restrictions.
just residential?
Only residential.
Just don't put owner occupied residential?
There again, that's because the board's instructed us to always put that owner occupied, so.
But if that's maybe somebody will, that'll put a basement in it, and then maybe it will be somebody submit for.
What street was that on, Mike?
Short Street.
Oh, okay.
And
Right
the
behind the
residence is
Walmart
gone, right?
Theater.
It's just a
I remember, one of the properties over there near the Walnut Theater. I don't think it was on Short, though. I think it might have been a Tate Street property. The issue with the basement was, if you put the basement in, the invert of the sewer was a problem, and it was very expensive to put sewer in
I don't
if you
think
use the
that's,
basement. Is that,
The sewer's another 10 foot down.
I don't know
Oh,
if
is it?
that's a problem on
Okay.
this one. It's just, you're increasing, the full basement increases the square foot cost on the structure so much that it's out of the market for this area for a single family.
there always is that, yeah, but I thought we had issues with sewer invert on one of those properties.
Should be on that one.
It's pretty deep through there.
Yeah, could be, yeah.
Now, has that one been advertised at all before?
They went through the full,
So now we can just put it out
For RFPs, yes.
and just put residential, accepting proposals and.
yeah.
Okay. You want to go ahead and do that just on?
Should we ask for proposals along the presentation, or?
Well, they would put it that the proposer needs to be prepared to present.
Yeah, to just put a bid opening and tell them they need to be in attendance for that meeting, that, answer questions.
Big problem.
So you
Hey,
want
it's like
to,
me, I mean, I will go through and look and read that stuff, and I doubt that a whole lot of people does. You might get somebody that is a builder, if it's in, a big ad.
You have a professional, ask him what he does. He goes through the paper.
We look at all those.
He's not a residential house builder.
That's true. Not yet.
Things getting that bad, huh?
just put residential, just
Yeah, and
residential.
just ask for proposals, because it's already gone through the full process.
Residential, just put residential, that's the only use restriction.
Should we put in there,
Yeah, probably need
could
to make
be
a motion.
owner occupied or rental?
If you're gonna leave it for I would just leave it wide open,
Yeah.
see if we get any takers.
You may make out a motion.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Oh, sorry.
Hold on, Grant had something to say for Oh, yeah. That's not me. My daughter. FaceTime with
Logan, he needs help.
Have a motion on the floor. Second?
Second.
Have a first and a second, all in favor? Opposed, motion carried.
RFP for 353, right?
Yep.
All right.
That'll be going in as soon as possible. When, we didn't ask, is the bid opening gonna be the next meeting? Or should we put it off? Done enough time?
There's minimum time of 10 days after the advertisement or notification.
You feel that gives builder adequate time to put something together?
And see if we get any interest.
Well, and it doesn't say that you could always extend it.
All right, we'll put it out for the next meeting, February 10th, 5 o'clock. Anything else from the board? Comments from the audience?
My name's Bob Reynolds.
Can you come to the podium?
Okay. Again, my name's Bob Reibel. We just purchased a condo right there across from St. Lawrence. Currently, right now, we live in Bright. we took ownership today. I think when we were talking about the Tate Street, and I know a little bit about this area, not a whole lot, I think the senior home, you made a comment like you got the senior housing, because you got senior citizen, you got the pool. Well, those two don't go together. I mean, I don't know how many seniors are hanging out at the pool. The comments that I've got from the people that we're buying from, and the only reason we got one was the guys getting transferred, and the people like it down there. So I don't know what, if something like that, what we bought over there, but I think since you've got the ballpark air, the dog, the skateboard, I just think it'd be something maybe that people are looking for, like, the younger me, but I mean that area, maybe with some kids and stuff like that. That's just my comment. But I'm looking forward to moving down here and looking for a lot of things to happen, so we're all excited about it, but like you say, my comments.
Adult center right next to it.
Yeah, I know.
And a community center right up the street.
Right.
A lot of kids do go there.
You do, but and then there's also the courthouse, there's the library, there is downtown shopping, they're the doctors, Partners in Health, everything here, and the comprehensive master plan. In 11 still indicates that there is a shortage for senior housing.
Seniors like to walk to the grocery. That's a big deal for seniors.
Is somebody gonna put a grocery in?
Well, here's the thing, if everybody, they keep talking about, they wanna help downtown, they wanna get people going in these shops and stuff down there, till you have people that live here that's gonna get on those sidewalks, they're not going to those shops. And I'm telling you, if you just, and I love seniors, I have absolutely nothing against seniors, we have senior housing, several of them here. But if that's all we put in downtown, boys, it ain't gonna happen. And that's my 2 cents. And I'm probably wrong, maybe, but hey, I still believe it.
Can I add to your comment there? And I think in the past, it's more than not like rentals. I mean, rental units are probably what's going to put the feet on the pavement out there. Young professionals, they're more at the rent. I think Aaron hit it over here. Mr. Bunchbox getting close to $900 on those units over there. $900 is probably going to give you a...
Well, if it's gonna be more of an apartment type building, I'd rather see it a rental, but if it's gonna be homes, I think it should be owner occupied. And that.
But you're gonna get, again.
You got square footage differences too, per unit for senior developments, per the other. And I mean, there again, that's something you have to choose, but I mean, there are plenty of amenities.
And here, we'll talk about the event center. If they have events there, I mean, I believe it's gonna be younger people, a lot more likely to go down there to the events than the seniors.
Well, you come down here on like the Thursday night, music on the river, you got an awful lot of empty nesters that come here, probably more empty nesters than you do young people might.
And it's because a lot of the music that they play, and there's a car show. That's what brings those people. You know something? Car show people, I've been around it my whole life. I'm going to say 85% of them seniors. You take that car show away, and that's going to take people away. But, I mean, I hear about downtown. I'm not a nightclub person. I don't drink. But if you want to have nightclubs and stuff downtown, it ain't going to be 85-year-old people in there.
All seniors aren't 85 years old.
But what I'm saying, Paul, this is good. 75. And you look good, Paul, and you probably would get out there and dance and mingle. But the point is, we got to aim at getting these people downtown if we want to ever have business that's going to survive.
Again, I just think you need to change the philosophy of the rental properties. I think you don't have to be a slumlord to have a nice rental property.
Bingo. I'll make a comment. I got a house for sale in Bright, so if I want to buy one, go ahead. I got 2 homes now. I called HR down at Hollywood, and I said, this might sound like a dumb question. I got a home for sale. It's a nice home. Do you ever, since you're building this convention center, you're going to have people transferring in from probably all over the country or whatever? She goes, we have it all the time, people looking for nice places to rent or buy. Though mine's in Bright, it's a little further away, but I think like Mario says, believe me, $900. I mean, I had somebody look at mine just to lease to buy. It's a $300,000 home. I can get you right now $2,300. That's what they told me. So because it's so hard to find anywhere around here, it's almost impossible, so.
Well, I know when I moved here, Dearborn County was the most wanted to live place in the tri-state.
But I'm here, so I appreciate your comments and look forward to anything, so.
Welcome to City One.
All right, thanks.
I'm back. Any other comments? I would like to bring one thing up, because this was a discussion night. Just want to throw something out there. Everybody knows the high school issue with the gym. And then there's been talks of indoor sports complex. I think a lot of people said they think it'd be good for this area. I've heard, going back to council meetings here, and, don't want to see people's taxes go up. I know I feel bad about my taxes won't go up because my house worth more than $170,000, so it makes me feel bad. I think everybody should pay their share if taxes are going up. So I come up with this thing. Why don't this city, redevelopment, everybody go together, try to partner with our school and put a indoor sports complex on the premises, take care of their gym, put a package deal together with a contract agreement. The school operates it, splits the revenue with the city, and at the end of the day, a lot of people gets things taken care of they want, and just something to think about.
What do you mean, put it on the school grounds, or is there room for it there?
Yesterday when I was thinking about this, I was at a basketball game, and Mr. Gaylor was there, and I was talking to him about it. But just to, there's been people, from gymnastic people to basketball, everybody's been here. And I was at East Central in their, what do they call it?
Field house.
Field house. That place is pretty, if you haven't been there, it's a pretty neat place. That was like $4 million, because, we've heard.
Is that what he's talking about?
That was, well, because what we've heard was $6 to $12 million is what come before this board before. And if you've seen this place at $4 million, I'm not saying that's what it needs to be, but, you'd imagine, well, what the heck they need $6 to $12 million facility, because,
That's not an indoor sports complex.
Basically, it's laid out the same.
At East Central?
Yeah. Yeah, at the field house.
You couldn't put a soccer field out there.
That's the only thing that's not laid up, or laid out for, but
you're talking about pay-per-use indoor sports complex. How many soccer fields?
It could do soccer too, but theirs is not laid out. It is laid out for basketball, volleyball, track. They can hold an indoor track meet.
Well, you've named one floor so far.
It's all on one floor.
Yeah.
Everything.
Right. But you haven't got a soccer complex in it.
It would have to be split up.
It'd have to be a hell of a lot bigger.
Well, it's a pretty good sized place.
I've been in it.
But, you could always build something a lot bigger, but, you gotta decide where the funds are going in.
Are you prepared to tell the city, the school board, to forget about the football field?
Me?
Yeah.
I done told them the way I felt about that football field.
Did you?
Yes, sir.
You gonna play on it?
No, sir. But I haven't talked to a football player yet that wants AstroTurf.
Oh, boy, no.
That I talked to. And my whole feelings about everything would have been different if that AstroTurf would have been included from the get-go. I just don't agree with it. They played on the grass for a lot of years, and I don't know what's wrong with it today. That's just my feeling. A lot of upkeep over the time, and have to replace it in 10 years, blah, blah, blah. But I was just throwing that out there for the board. Thanks. Glad somebody. But,
What about an education wing over there instead of a football field or basketball? There's a lot of different things we can talk about here, but this is not the time.
actually, I'm going to disagree because this was supposed to be a discussion session.
For the high school gym?
No, I said about, the sports complex was presented at this podium. You had discussions on it.
Not last year? Okay, I'm just,
Well, my gosh, it's only January the 13th.
okay. I'm wondering why we're discussing the new gym and football field right now. That's as a,
I know Tyler would like to get out of here.
no, I haven't said a word.
I heard you say this, the longest one yet.
No, I didn't say that.
You didn't say that? Huh. But Tom, I do give you the right to speak when you want to speak.
Okay.
I want to speak on that.
Can I talk about education, about what the high school's doing over there, instead of building a football?
Absolutely, because I used that about the AstroTurf,
And they
about
played
something
three
doing with
games
the
on it this year?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
You want to kick back and put your feet up on the desk?
I got used to John. We take a recess.
Motion to adjourn. We second? We have a second? First and second, all in favor? Opposed, motion carried.
Exactly. This is the longest one for a long time.
When you go in,
I gave him keys today, so let me a little bit, so.
I could have embarrassed you.
That's gonna fall out of there already.